Good morning. What's going on? Welcome. Today is Monday, October 29th, 2018. My name's Jeremy. You're watching First Cup, and this is my first cup of coffee. Awesome. So I hope everyone had a great weekend. I believe Friday we had another issue with the live stream dying, which meant it didn't get saved, or I don't know what's going on. I think it's my phone. Not sure why. I uninstalled like half the apps on my phone after. We'll see what happens. If it keeps getting worse, then I don't know. Figure something out. We could also blame Comcast if we wanted to, because that's a little more fun. Let's move this a little closer. There we go. So, this weekend was a pretty good weekend. I didn't do much yesterday. Just kind of hung out and recovered. But Saturday was a fun day. Saturday is the one event a year that whistlekick puts on. We call it Free Training Day, and I bring together a dozen or so people who teach, and dozens of other people show up and train. And it's so much fun. So here's how this works. And the reason I'm going to give you all the details is because I would love to see more of this. And I'll tell you why when I'm done. So we get a local high school gym and run 6 sessions and 2 instructor options per session. And people just go to the ones they want to train in. Now, the big rule, I guess, the thing that makes this a little different is that if you are going to teach, if you're going to have an instructor slot, number one, you don't get paid. Number two, you are expected, to train when you're not teaching. Why do we do that? Because it means there's going to be far less ego running around at this event. Folks who are willing to learn from others, especially people they don't really know, are people who are much more humble with their martial arts. They're open to getting better. And that's what happened. We had some incredible martial artists teaching this weekend, and every one of them hopped in to learn from someone else. At some points, people who had far less experience than them. It's a blast. It's so much fun watching the friendships come out of this, watching the wheels turn, watching people get better, watching some of the, watching people get inspired, whether those be people who've been training for a while and maybe are stuck in a rut but don't want to admit it, or lower rank people who have only been exposed to the things in their own school. Now, one of the things I find interesting about this event is the low percentage of people who attend. Now, obviously, if we were to draw a circle from this event to, I think the farthest people were New Jersey, that's like 7 hours away, depending on where they are in New Jersey. If we were to draw a circle 7 hours out, that's a huge portion. That's much of the Northeast. Literally, millions of people could have come. But even the folks who were really local, very, very few of them attended. Now, why? There's a few things going on there. And I'm aware of some of them. The first off, there are plenty of people who don't think something free is worth having. If it's free, it must not be very good. And I've had people tell me that I might have better attendance if there was money changing hands. And that might be true. But you know what? When you charge money for things, it has to be on a whole different level. One of the things I love about this event is it's simple, it's organic. One of the instructors for the first slot, his GPS routed him funny. He didn't get there on time. So we swapped him with somebody in the second slot. Now, if the event was paid, there may be people complaining about that. Whatever. Right? I didn't have to worry about it. You also still have instructors who don't want people training with other people. Now, sometimes people will let them train with others if they know them and know their skills. But this event, pretty much guaranteed that you're not going to know everybody who's teaching, and I do that intentionally. It's fun. And then the third one, and I think the biggest one, you've got people who, how do I put this? Martial arts just isn't that important to them. They go to their classes, they do their thing there, and they just kind of get into that groove. But to go to something on the weekend, that's a whole other endeavor. It's a big deal. And it can be really intimidating for people. There were people I knew who said they would come, who could have come, and who chose not to come. And it comes down to them being intimidated. Hold on, coffee. I'm going to be talking about my takeaways from training day, probably much of the week. Don't forget, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, YouTube, Tuesday, Facebook, Thursday, Instagram. But I think that the thing I want to talk about today, if you only ever spend your time training in your school and you progress really, really far, it's going to be that much harder to go elsewhere and meet other people and do other things. I'm thinking of people in particular. In fact, I'm thinking of one person in particular who I had hoped would attend. Honestly, someone I had invited to instruct. Someone I consider a friend. Someone I know, maybe not super well, but I know them. They were intimidated at the idea of teaching to a group of people that were not their students. And so I had encouraged them to come to see what the environment was like. They didn't come. And I know it's because they were intimidated. But let's face it, when you've been training for decades, you should be able to have conversations with other martial artists from other martial arts. I don't believe that being that narrow in your training is a good thing. Everyone that comes to this event, this is the third year, this was the biggest year, despite a snowstorm. Snowstorm, end of October. It's crazy. Despite this being the biggest year, everyone still had a great time. Everyone, as far as I could tell, still learned something. Friendships were forming, and there were a group of people that didn't really want to leave. I kind of had to kick them out because I wanted to go home because I was exhausted. It's kind of like what would happen with a kid if that kid never left the house, and then suddenly at 12, 13, 14, you say, okay, time to go to high school. What? That's not going to work out well. To go from no peers in your environment to hundreds? That's uncomfortable. And I think that that's what happens. It's kind of an offshoot of one of the things I talk on the show with ego. The idea that if you define yourself by your standing within your school and then you leave your school, what do you have? You have nothing. You have your skill. But if you don't trust that skill, what do you have? You have discomfort. You have fear. How do I define myself as a martial artist? I define myself as someone who is open to learn and will work hard to help others get better. That's what I do. I'm here to serve. And in doing so, I get better. Over the weekend, I didn't have a ton of time to train because in the morning we had people coming in and out. And I wanted to make sure that they were attended to. And in the afternoon, a bit of the same. And I wasn't going to get into any groups where I needed to have a partner because if I had to step out, I didn't want that partner to, be left out. So I snuck in and I did some training when I could, and I had a lot of fun. But at any given point, was I the best person there? No. Did that matter to me? No. I was there to learn. I was there to wear a figurative, in this case, white belt. And there were some things I learned that I got better at, some things that I want to explore more. In fact, one of the instructors who lives not too far, I think I'm going to reach out for a private lesson on the thing that he taught because it was a great concept and I wish I could have had more time with it. So, what do I encourage of you? I encourage you to figure out your place, not just in your school, but in the martial arts. What is your role? And if your role is entirely for yourself, I'm going to encourage you to expand that. I'm not saying everything you do is for other people, but at least some of it should be. Because if you do that, then you can certainly travel and train with others and selflessly find a place anywhere. So that's what I got. I hope you have a great day. I will see you tomorrow on Facebook. Take care. Peace.